Alright, what is up, YouTube? Today we're going to be reacting why is fast food panicking over higher prices. Now, let's go.
There's been a lot of talk online and in the news about how much fast food prices have gone up over the recent years.
Once home to the dollar menu, prices at the Golden Arches leaving a bad taste in the mouth of consumers who just want value.
Some restaurants are continuing with price hikes, while others are getting desperate with attempts to offer more deals in hopes of increasing traffic.
Restaurants don't cut prices for fun. Did consumers essentially force your hand by being fed up?
Customers are telling us that they're really stretched.
Now, we all know
Yeah, no
inflation has
shit.
been rampant since the beginning of 2020 when the pandemic happened.
Grocery prices, in some cases, are falling. Fast food prices are rising, and these CEOs, they know it. They're hearing these complaints.
But what's really going on here? I mean, are fast food companies trying to pull a fast one on us, price gouging under the cover of inflation?
Fast food places in general, y'all better watch your goddamn ass.
Is this just plain old corporate greed like many have claimed?
Who told y'all was that good to be charging that much for y'all food?
Or is there more to this story?
Fast food used to mean inexpensive.
Going viral, the Big Mac meal priced at $18 at a Connecticut rest stop.
Well, in this video, I'm going to try to get to the bottom of it. Wikipedia defines price gouging as a pejorative term used to refer to the practice of increasing the prices of goods, services, or commodities to a level much higher than is considered reasonable or fair by some. This commonly applies to the price increases of basic necessities after natural disasters. Usually this event occurs after a demand or supply shock, like, say, a global pandemic. Harvard Business School says there's no rule for what qualifies as price gouging, but it's not an uncommon occurrence. For example, EpiPen costs and Uber price surges are both examples of price increases that have been considered unfair. But what's the difference between price gouging and inflation? While price gouging is often the result of a business decision, inflation is a general increase in the prices of goods.
I mean, look at the prices. I mean, it really showing you how back in the day, 25 cents for a cup of coffee. Now we're looking at, 2024, it's $3. Yeah, we're making more money. Minimum wage is starting going up. Certain places, back then things were cheaper, but people weren't making as much either. So, I mean, there's got to be something behind the story on why these costs keep on going up after year after year after year.
And services over time and is directly impacted by the market. And while 40 states across the country have laws in place to ban price gouging, there is currently no federal price gouging prohibition. And this makes it a difficult thing to enforce because so many supply chains are nationwide. And as a result, states face heightened challenges when trying to protect consumers from price gouging. So in my opinion, price gouging is a rather nebulous concept. It often lacks clear-cut depictions, and it's not only a practical question, but also a moral one. However, with this fast food dilemma, it's not just about high prices here. It's also about prices that seem disconnected from costs and the actual products themselves. So whether specific fast food companies have engaged in price gouging is up for debate. What certainly isn't is how much prices have increased over the years. And the real question then becomes, is it justified? Finance Buzz released a staggering report on fast food prices over the last decade, and it showed some very interesting stats, claiming McDonald's is king when it comes to price hikes over the years.
And the reason why they do that is because people go buy their stuff. I mean, you look at all these other fast food chains, Wendy's, Chick-fil-A. I mean, Taco Bell's like ranked number 3rd on this chart here. You have Popeyes, which is very popular too. But McDonald's, I mean, hell, look at their revenue. They're always up no matter what. They can $18 for this, for a meal. I mean, people are going to buy it. Who do people go to? They go to McDonald's. They always pick McDonald's. I mean, yes, you have all these other fast food chains on this list, but it's not going to matter. McDonald's dominates. And now inflation, they're dominating in that category too.
Citing a 100% increase to their prices from 2014 to 2024. Now, to understand how we got here, let's just rewind for a second. Fast food in its early days was built on 2 core promises: speed and affordability. Now, with its initial success, it really started to become a symbol of American culture. What the food may have lacked in quality, it ultimately made up with cheaper prices and the convenience of.
I mean, look at the prices back then. This could be in the 80s, could be early 2000s. Big Mac, $1.49 or $1.48. You know, you have quarter pounder, $1.43. With cheese, $1.06. I'm like, dude, the prices were there. And the thing is that back then you could go with a whole family, wouldn't break the bank. You go now, I mean, shit's gonna cost you $40, $50 depending on how many people are in your group. It's fucking wild.
Of getting it quickly. However, today, the same can't be said. It's not breaking news, but fast food is rarely fast anymore.
No,
and it's becoming
not.
pretty expensive for what the quality is. Now, over the last 2 decades, rising costs have hit the industry hard. Real estate prices,
Yeah.
minimum wage increases, and supply chain inefficiencies started driving up costs. Add to that the increase in costs of beef, chicken, potatoes,
Yeah.
along with paper products, and suddenly the simple cheap burger wasn't so cheap to make anymore.
And that is true. I mean, ingredients. I mean, it every single little thing costs. You know, is it cheaper for you to make your own hamburger? Yes. If you can make your own Big Mac at home, it's probably going to be cheaper. But in reality, how things are so expensive, you know, back in the day, it was cheaper to go out to eat because going to the grocery store was too expensive. You know, but it's getting to that point. Fast food is not your normal, you know, $5 menu type shit anymore. I mean, this shit is costing more than actually going to the store and buying something to make a week worth of food, if you think about it, if you know what you're doing.
These changes laid the groundwork for the price hikes that we're seeing today, but they only tell part of the story. What's happening now feels different, like something has fundamentally shifted.
Oh, I'm sorry. Could you put her on, please?
Dude, this is a Wendy's restaurant.
Kevin. Okay.
But I have to keep it real. It's not just the rise in costs that are part of doing business. It's also factors like increases to advertising spend, ballooning executive compensation packages.
And look at that, for example, the fucking CEO of fucking Starbucks. When I heard about that shit, I was fucking blown away. He was gonna get 113 million payday on the dot, and then he could also work remote and also have a private jet to go from Seattle, where he needed to be at the headquarters, and then go back to his house back in California. This motherfucker right here is winning at life. No other job is going to do that for anybody else that's a normal, average homie that clocks in 9 to 5. Hell, but if you're a CEO, I mean, they're going to give you all the perks because they believe in you that you're going to blow up Starbucks and be the next, you know, best thing in revenue.
Along with significant investments into technology, like mobile apps for these companies. Oh, and of course, stock buybacks, returning billions of dollars to shareholders.
There you go.
But don't just take my word for it. Let's look at some of the numbers. According to the Federal Reserve's economic data, food away from home, which is the category that includes fast food, this rose roughly 28.5% over the last 5 years. But general overall inflation rose only 24%. Now, at a first glance, these price hikes might seem like a logical reaction to the rising costs of inflation. But let's dig a bit deeper. While the cost of doing business has increased, profit margins at many major chains have held steady or even grown. Take McDonald's, for instance. Despite facing higher expenses, their operating margins climbed to nearly 46% in 2023, up from around 41% in 2019. Now, that's not just covering costs, that's thriving. And if you don't think operating margin is the best indicator to decide this, let's look at their net profit margin. It's gone up from 28% right before the pandemic hit, all the way up to over 33% in 2024. Now, this has led McDonald's to begin to take some drastic measures to try to convince customers they not only aren't being greedy, but also that they still can provide value with their menu. But more on that in a moment. This pattern isn't unique to McDonald's, though. Chipotle has reported record revenues fueled by menu price increases.
Yeah, and this is, like I said before, it goes back to revenue. If they keep on raising their prices up and people are still going to go and buy it, then each quarter, you know, and they got shares, that shit's going to go up and they're going to make money. They're going to make millions on millions. Well, the consumer is still going to be paying for these high prices, and they're going to be inching it by $1, $2, $3. Who knows how much they'll keep on raising it up, and people continue to buy it.
Of nearly 15% over the last 2 years. In fact, during the making of this video, they just announced another 2% price increase to their menu, which brings
Wow.
the total number of price hikes to 7 times since 2021. And Chipotle technically isn't fast food and is more in the category of fast casual dining, but they still are a part of that food away from home stat that I
Yep.
provided from the Federal Reserve.
Yep.
And so we can still learn a lot about their recent financial performance over the years. Chipotle's net margin is higher now than
Dads.
ever before and has been steadily climbing since the pandemic.
That's wild.
However, the margins did tank before the pandemic due to foodborne illness issues the company was facing. But if we
Yeah,
also look at
that's
their
true.
revenue and net income, that has also been rising steadily since the last quarter of 2020. And here's the kicker. Chipotle's former CEO Brian Niccol earned over $17 million in 2022 and over $22 million in 2023, including significant bonuses tied to the company's profitability. This is over 1,300 times the median pay of a Chipotle worker. Now, whether you think the CEO is worth 1,300 times the average worker or not, it's clear that they are making more money now than ever before. And Chipotle also just announced in July that they were authorizing a $400 million stock buyback program, essentially funneling excess cash back to shareholders instead of, reinvesting it into operations or finding out ways to keep prices stable. Additionally, Yum Brands, which owns Taco Bell, KFC, and Pizza Hut, instituted price hikes in 2023 and cited that it was a last resort option, while later that year clocking in a 21% increase in total revenue over its pre-pandemic earnings. Now, since then, executives at the company have authorized a $2 billion share repurchase program, returning $678 million to its shareholders. Now, there's no secret here that
Yeah, and like what he was saying, they rather do buybacks and all that shit for the shareholders instead of actually reinvesting the money back into the company, trying to figure out ways that they can help the people that are buying this stuff continue to buy it. You keep on raising this shit, no one ain't gonna buy it anymore. It's true.
greater amounts of capital are being redirected to corporate level costs, such as C-level executive compensation. Now, critics argue that inflation has become a convenient excuse for these price hikes. Yes, labor and ingredient costs are up, but why are executive salaries soaring at the same time? Why are companies increasing ad budgets and launching multi-million-dollar stock buybacks while citing higher costs as the reason for passing price increases onto consumers? Now, in some cases, the numbers suggest these companies are taking advantage of inflationary pressures to pad their profits. In fact, a recent analysis from the Economic Policy Institute found that corporate profits accounted for over 40% of price increases across several industries during the pandemic recovery period. Now, while fast food isn't singled out in this analysis, it does seem to fit into this broader trend. This narrative has led to a huge disconnect from corporations to their consumers, particularly around their pricing and the value propositions they offer. But the interesting thing here is some of these companies are faring much better than others. Chipotle, for example, is continuing to grow in spite of their price hikes, and they also historically haven't offered any sort of value meal. While restaurants like McDonald's, Burger King, Wendy's, Taco Bell, and others are all trying to entice customers.
and I heard about that, about the fast food is a luxury place to eat. A CEO was on TV and he said that fast food is going to become a point that it's a luxury and it's not fast food anymore. And he's true. It's true. $18, $19. You take whoever out your family, you're spending $40, $50. I mean, goddamn, on fast food. Is the quality there? Who knows? The quality could be shit. And the thing is, they're just going to keep on climbing and making their money no matter what until people stand together and they're like, nah, screw that shit. You either work with us as a consumer or we're not going to buy your shit.
By trying to add more value deals to their menus. But of course, fast food chains have their side of the story too. They argued that these price hikes are a necessity, not some evil choice. And their executives have pointed to some real pressures: rising wages, volatile supply chains, and of course inflation, as reasons why fast food just isn't as cheap as it used to be. Now, back in May of 2024, social media posts about an $18 Big Mac meal went so viral that McDonald's actually had to begin a campaign trying to debunk some of the myths
And it didn't
that were being
work.
spread about their prices. Remember this graph from earlier? Yeah, well, McDonald's disagrees with a lot of it. The nuance behind this is that while data on its own is rather objective, the way in which data can be presented often is very subjective, including this video here. However, in their blog post, McDonald's cited bits of information from the article labeling them as myths, like, quote, McDonald's raised prices at a rate nearly double the national rate of inflation. And over in their facts section, trying to combat this, they mentioned that over the last 5 years, prices have increased around 40% due to higher input costs such as salaries, food, and paper products. And while that may be very well true, the article cites McDonald's menu prices have doubled 100% since
It's right there.
2014 across popular items, the highest of any chain we analyzed. But okay, let's just assume McDonald's was confused on this, and they cited from 2019 on as opposed to what the article says, which is 2014. So what about another myth? Well, once again, McDonald's cites the article quoting, McDonald's medium fries have increased by 138% since 2019. But McDonald's claims the truth is the average price of a medium fry in 2019 was $2.29, and now in 2024, the average price is $3.29. Okay, well, the article actually says that the 138% increase is from 2014 to 2024, not 2019. Now, I could go on, but I think you're starting to get the point.
Yep.
Okay, but there are some who argue that rising wages are really the one to blame for high menu prices, claiming this trend of increased minimum wage could lead to job losses and widespread restaurant closures. However, the evidence suggests otherwise. Economists at the Economic Policy Institute have extensively researched this issue and found that higher wages would likely have the opposite effect, modestly stimulating consumer demand, boosting business activity, and creating job growth. Okay, but what about fast food prices? Are they rising because of higher wages? Well, yes, but not entirely for the reasons you might think. Price increases in the fast food industry are part of a long-standing trend, not a sudden phenomenon caused by wage hikes. Because while the consumer price index for all items rose by 3.2% between April 2022 and April 2023, fast food prices surged 5.2%, according to the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Meanwhile, the cost of groceries increased by only 1% during that time. But that was then, and this is now, and fast food has been getting desperate over the last year. McDonald's has had to really try to entice customers with their nationwide $5 value meal, and many competitors have followed suit. Burger King offered their $5 meal, Wendy's did a $4
Everybody
meal deal,
all had to
and
follow
Taco
the
Bell
train.
launched a $3 value deal, all in an attempt to increase traffic to their stores. Now, it's clear they have a real problem on their hands, not only in terms of general sentiment around their value propositions, but also in regards to pricing. But fast food companies also have to reckon with fast casual offerings eating away at their market share. Chipotle, Cava, and Sweetgreen have all reported a much different outlook on this matter. And while yes, they typically attract a higher income cohort, it's not only them that are buying these products. Cava, the Mediterranean chain, only raised prices 12% from 2019 to 2023. And as a result, they reported increases to their top and bottom lines. Now, of course, they have a much smaller footprint than McDonald's, but when that Big Mac is contesting the price,
And what he's just saying right there, I mean, it's proven to show that all these other big time fast food places that are gonna be keep on raising the costs of their Big Macs, chicken McNuggets, and then the portion size starting to shrink over time. What are people gonna do? They're gonna take their money. They're gonna go somewhere else that has smaller business. Prices look good. They're gonna go there, and that's gonna be their daily place of getting their food. And what's gonna happen? What he just pointed out, the revenue's gonna go up. Even though they're so small of a company, they're gonna go up over time, because who's gonna pay top dollar for a meal? Nobody is. They're gonna find another way to spend their money, and it's proven to show. He's showing it right now on these other fast food chains that is actually taking advantage of these other big time fast food restaurants. They're charging way too much.
Of some of these fast casual offerings, it seems like an inevitable shift is bound to occur here. And even casual sit-down restaurants like Applebee's and Chili's are getting involved into this value war. Chili's 3 for Me meal deal for $10.99 has created a resurgence in traffic to their restaurants, resulting in their foot traffic soaring 33%, which capped off 6 straight months of increases. So are the higher prices...
You know, and you guys can say, well, if their quality shit in that. Look, you can go to McDonald's, you can spend $18 on a Big Mac. Could it be good? Yes, it could be good. Could it be shit? It could be shit. Yes, any type of other food could be shit too if you're paying for top dollar. But, you go to Applebee's, anywhere that's cheaper, you're not out nothing. You're not going to be paying as much as compared to all these other places.
Is just the cost of doing business. I don't see how one could come to that conclusion with how much profits have increased over the last 5 years for most of these chains. To me, this does seem like some good old-fashioned corporate greed, masked in layers of manipulation and excuses. And now for fast food places like McDonald's, Burger King, and others, customers not only have to battle with higher prices, but also with the lack of convenience and quality of the food itself. Because at the end of the day, when all is said and done, infinite growth is the goal. And the fiduciary duty to shareholders comes before customers, employees, suppliers, or vendors. But it is really interesting to see how some companies...
And, I mean, he's spitting facts right there, and it's true. It's all about revenue. It's all about how they're going to do on quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, and quarter 4. And they care about that stuff more than anybody else, more than the workers, more than the people that come in and buy the fast food, the quality. It just shows you that they care about that top 5% more than anything else. And it's just really unfortunate.
Companies simply choose to operate differently while still achieving success. If you want to learn about a prime example, I covered the story.
I don't know, guys. What do you guys think? I'd have to say this video was excellent. Don't forget to subscribe to his channel. Hit the comment section. Hit a follow. Appreciate it. I'll be back with another video when I can. Peace.